Hello everyone, the third eye is taking you to see the world. Modern medicine believes that for every kind of disease, there are corresponding ways to heal it. In support of this theory, antibiotics were invented to fight viral and bacterial diseases, and vaccines to prevent viral diseases. However, people found microbes or diseases become resistant to the medicines. Illnesses are becoming increasingly bizarre. As for those strange and difficult to cure diseases, modern medicine has no reliable methods of treating them. Why advanced science and modern medicine cannot cure these diseases? In the end, what are the causes of illnesses? Actually, many conservative scientists have done a lot of research. In the West, many doctors and scholars have been able to find out about patients' previous lives and thus determine the true cause of their pains and sicknesses in this life. In other words, people live many lives and their karma, a substance created by doing bad things, is connected with afflictions and illnesses in this life. Edgar Cayce, 1877–1945, a famous American psychic, he had the ability to give readings on patients who were thousands of miles away after he entered into a self-induced sleep state. He was able to see the root cause of the patient's illness. As a result, the cause of the disease was discovered, many of which are not in this life. In her book Many Mansions, The Edgar Cayce Story on Reincarnation, Dr. Gina Sermonaro lists examples of treating patients through readings of their previous lives by Edgar Cayce. Cayce interpreted 14,306 cases in the life and discovered the relationship between illness and karma. Here is one of the case among the many patients who were treated by Cayce. There was an 11-year-old boy who, from the time he was 2 years old, couldn't stop wetting his bed. When he was 3, his parents brought him to psychologists for treatment. After a year, there still weren't any results. His parents spent much time and effort to find a medical cure. But up to the age of 11, he still could not stop wetting his bed. When the boy was 11 years old, his parents decided to ask Edgar Cayce to treat him. After reading the boy's past life, Cayce found that during the 17th century the boy had been an English bishop. He liked to test the prisoners during their trials. The prisoner was tied to a board and, from time to time, plunged into cold water. This reading discovered his sins in his past life, and caused a mark on his kidney in this life to pay for the sins that he had committed. After discovering the root, there was a hope of a cure. When the boy was about to sleep at night, his parents sat beside his bed and chanted phrases like, "You are a humane and kind person. You want everyone to be happy. You will help everyone you meet." For the first night in 9 years, that night, the boy did not wet his bed. His parents continued for a couple of months, and he was completely cured thereafter. Ever since the boy became a new person, everyone loved him. He was warm-hearted and fair, also very tolerant to other people. We see that past sins will not fly away like the dusts of the body. If you plant peas you'll get peas, if you plant melons you'll get melons. Karma from the past will cause the pains of this lifetime. The phrase, "good and evil will be compensated," which has been passed on from generation to generation, explains the real cause and effect of life's events. Among the many cases read by Edgar Cayce, some were traced back to the ancient Roman Empire. Some of the patients in these cases participated in the persecution against Christians, directly or indirectly. One of them was a 45-year-old woman. She was paralyzed by polio at the age of 36 and had to rely on a wheelchair to get around. After unsuccessfully trying many treatments, she found Cayce and asked him to give her a reading of her previous lives. She learned that the reason for her paralysis in this life was what she had done in ancient Rome. Between 37 to 68 AD, she was a member of the royal court when Emperor Nero persecuted Christians. She not only had no sympathy for the Christians who were mutilated in the Colosseum, but she also sneered at them. The price for her cold sneers was to be paralyzed in this life. Another patient was a girl. She was an aristocrat in her previous life during Nero's rule, and she enjoyed watching Christians being tortured in the Colosseum. She even laughed loudly when she saw a young girl's body torn apart by a lion. This aristocrat who took pleasure in martyrs' sufferings was paying back her sins with tuberculosis. Another case involved a movie producer who suffered from polio at the age of 17. He had a slight limp from his bad foot. During the reading of his previous lives, Casey found that this person had also participated in persecution against Christians. He was a soldier at the time and was ordered to persecute Christians, who did not fight back. His sin was not the result of obeying his orders as a soldier, but of sneering at people who persisted in their faith. His disability in this life was meant to awaken him. The last patient was a boy. His back was injured in a car accident when he was 16, and he lost all feeling from the below the fifth vertebra. He could not move and had to rely on a wheelchair. 7.5 years later, when he was 23 years old, his mother asked Casey to do a reading for him, and 2 of his previous lives were read. One of them showed him as a soldier in the ancient Roman Empire during the early period of the persecution against Christianity. He was very conceited and took pleasure in the Christians' sufferings. He also directly participated in the persecution. And so he had to endure pain in this life. Even the best treatment in the world is not able to cure him in this life. The readings on these people indicated the true cause of their pain and suffering. They used to laugh at and persecute people who persisted in their faith. At the same time, the readings show that behind the superficial illness-causing elements, an invisible force that exists on an unknown and deeper level is controlling people's fates. Chinese and ancient also believed illness is retribution of karma. People do the bad thing in the previous lives, resulting in people sick and disasters. Qing Dynasty ancient book Little Bean Shed records, Li Kejio's grandmother was born 3 days to speak. She told the family about her previous life. In her previous life, Li's grandmother was a scholar, surnamed Shen, was reported dead at a young age. Shen was magistrate of Hongdong County, Shaanxi Province, always tortured others. After death, met the king of underworld. The king sentenced him to be a woman for the next live, with 23 years life, during which he had to endure all kinds of suffering to pay back the sins of his previous life karma. When Li's grandmother was 7 or 8 years old, an official surnamed Wang of Shandong passed her home. When she saw the official, she exclaimed, "Wang Nianyo, still remember Chen?" In her previous life, this official was a candidate for the national exam in the same year as Chen. Wang stopped and talked to Li's grandmother for a long time, and they talked a lot about Magistrate Chen. Wang still remembered that Chen was good at painting. He asked Li's grandmother to draw an orchid for him. Li's grandmother's hand was disabled, even was not able to hold the pen. Both lamented that the retribution was truly existed, and shed tears. A few years later, pockmarks appeared on Li's grandmother's face and a tumor on her neck. After marriage, she was not loved by husband, suffered a lot of pain. Finally died of a blood collapse at the age of 23. In her previous life, Li's grandmother always tortured the people, created karma. In this life she had to pay back the sin of the previous life. It also supports the old Chinese proverb, good is rewarded with good, evil is met with evil. That is not merely a saying. Retribution never misses by even a hair. The third eye is taking you to see the world. That's all for today. Please pay attention to our next video. Thank you for your likes, subscribe, and share. If you have any thoughts, please leave us comment below. Thank you, bye-bye.